Thank you for making it to another episode of the Money Exchange Podcast. I'm so glad you're here, but make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when each episode is available, so you'll get the quick information that my guest and I will share with you. Also, if you enjoyed, leave us a comment so we know what you liked about it. If you didn't, let us know that as well, so we make sure that we modify things as we go forward. And also tell a friend. So share this with others so they can get this great information as well. So you all know I'm Patrina, the It's My Money Lady, and with me today I have Apple Crider. Hi, Apple.
Hey, Patrina, how's it going?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you on. We met at a conference called FinCon, and I was so excited when I met him, and he was, so like, you were so engaging, like, come over and talk, say, let's take a picture. We were taking selfies. I think that was before you were gonna have your session. So when I saw you talking about YouTube and how you, one, have monetized and then have been able to increase how much you receive, and I'm like, I gotta have you on because everybody wants to know how people are doing that. So one, tell us a little bit about Apple.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for having me. And I guess a little bit about me. So I'm 21 years old at the moment. So definitely a bit younger than probably most of the guests on the podcast. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, so I'm 21 years old. I'm a personal finance YouTuber at the moment. And then I'm also a part of a investing website called investingsimple.com, where we kind of put out reviews on the latest investing gadgets, tools, whatever. So those are my two big projects right now. I also recently passed the Certified Financial Planner CFP exam.
I saw
So
that. Congratulations. Don't just
thank
live
you.
by that. That is fantastic. I forgot to mention that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely a grind. I spent like 6 months studying for that thing. So that was definitely a beast. So next chapter is definitely going to be starting my wealth management firm specifically for young entrepreneurs like myself. So that's an exciting chapter to start in 2021. But yeah, for now it's YouTube and the website.
Yeah, so great. So we're just going to jump right in. Like you're very transparent with how much you were able to make from YouTube, and then how you grew it. So we want to talk a little bit about how did you get there, and then we'll go into the what you were making and what you are making now, and what you felt have attributed to what you're making now. So let's talk a little bit about YouTube in itself. Like what did you need to do to get to the point where you can start to monetize YouTube? Like what were those steps? What were those numbers that you need to hit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So traditionally, like when people think of monetizing on YouTube, they think of like the little ads that play before the video where someone's trying to sell you something. And like that's like the most traditional way to monetize. Like you get those, YouTube puts those ads up there. They gave you 55% of that ad revenue. They keep 45%. And so that's like the most traditional way to go. And so to do that, you've got to get 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, which can sound like a pretty daunting step for a lot of people who haven't even gotten started yet. They're like, oh my gosh, 4,000 hours, 1,000 subscribers, like that's going to take me decades, But what I learned is that you actually don't need to have those metrics to monetize on YouTube, because there's a whole number of other ways to monetize besides just putting ads in your videos. And so the two main ways that I take advantage of with my YouTube channel is putting the ads on the videos, and then also affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is basically you make a referral for a product for someone, say it's an app or some kind of website or a service or whatever. You have a referral link. You give that referral link to your audience. Your audience uses that link to sign up or to buy something, and then you get a commission for everyone that you send there. So that you can start doing at any audience size, because as long as you have people watching your videos, then you can have people clicking on your links and making you referral commissions. So those are kind of the two main ways that I use. But yeah, to get the ads, you do have to have those thresholds. But there's a ton of affiliate partners you can find, especially in the finance niche. Like in the personal finance niche, like we are so lucky to have all of these affiliate partners, because like we're talking about money all the time. So these platforms, they've got tons of money to give out to you. So if you can send referrals their way, there's a ton of potential to make some really lucrative deals there.
So so thank you for breaking down, like, so you the way you articulate how you can make money from each was great. So so we already talked about the ads, and that is what that is. Now, as it pertains to affiliates, do you just drop the links in your comments within your YouTube that particular video, or do you also actually speak to it within your video as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. So with the affiliate links that I do, because like one thing that I've heard about YouTube, and I think it's probably pretty true, is that they don't want you sending people outside of YouTube. Like they don't necessarily want you pushing people off of YouTube. Like the longer you keep them there, the more YouTube will like you, and the more they will like send you more people. So I have really tried to be pretty sparing with the affiliate links that I use. And in the past, I would kind of just have like this big block of like 20 different links to be like my favorite this, my favorite that, my favorite book, my favorite podcast, blah 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 blah, all these affiliate links, and I put them in all of my videos. And I know a lot of people do that, but I realized that like, hey, a lot of these links don't necessarily pertain to the exact content of this video. And the people watching this video probably aren't that interested in my favorite book all of the time. So what I've now decided to do is I really just put like one or two links that are specific to the companies that I mentioned, the brands that I mentioned in that particular video, to one, keep people on YouTube longer and kind of just appease the YouTube overlords. And then two, make sure that the links are super specific and like really match the intent of the person watching the video. So I'll usually try to keep it to like one or two links that are really focused on brands that I mentioned. And when I do mention the brands, I'll also mention the links in the description and in the pinned comment, because usually those links have some kind of incentive with them. So I've got like a link for Chime Bank. And when people set up direct deposit with Chime, they get like a free $50 or something. So when I mention that, I'll say, hey, if you use the link down below, you can get a free $50. So that's just an easy way to kind of weave it in and point people there, because you got to tell people what to do. I mean, that's like a recurring theme with anything. Like if you expect people are going to do what you want them to do, you're probably going to be disappointed. So if you tell them exactly what to do, make it super easy for them, that's when you're going to have the best chance of that actually happening. So I'll kind of mention it, and I'll try to keep them pretty spare.
Oh God, I love that. So that's great. So, and you're right. All of these social platforms, like they don't want to be the platform where you go on and then redirect somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Right. The more you stay on, the better it is, and the platform recognizes that. So that's great. So now that we talk about technology, like right now, you and I are on this session via the Zoom platform. Some people just do their YouTubing from their iPhone or Android. What do you use, and what have you found that's the most consistent across YouTubers?
Yeah, good question. So I was using my phone. I've got a Google Pixel 4, which has a really nice camera on it. Even though it's like 2 years old at this point, I think, but it's got a really nice camera. And so I was using that for the last few months. But then I don't know if you can see behind me over here, I've got a camera on a ring light going on. So I've upgraded a little bit because I moved out here to New York, and my buddy is a YouTuber, so he's got a lot of nice equipment. So he's letting me borrow some of that. So now I've kind of upgraded a little bit, and so the quality is a little bit better. But honestly, like the quality difference between my phone camera and like this fancy thing back here is not all that much. So I think a lot of people, they buy all this fancy stuff right off the bat. They get like a fancy camera, fancy lighting, fancy whatever. I don't think it's necessary at all. Like, I don't know. I spent years not using fancy stuff, and it went fine. So I think, yeah, I think you can get away with a lot these days in terms of quality. I think what does matter in terms of quality though is sound. I think audio quality matters a lot more than video quality. So if you can invest in a decent like lavalier mic, the little guy that clips onto your shirt, you can get one of those on Amazon, a good one for like $20. So I would definitely recommend investing in one of those, just because if your audio quality isn't great, people aren't as forgiving of that. But if your video quality isn't as great, people can be a little bit more forgiving there. So I would definitely say optimize for audio first, and that's great because that's actually cheaper than optimizing for video, because a nice camera like the one behind me is like $1,000. So like it's a lot cheaper to get a $20 microphone than like $1,000 camera. So that's what I would say in terms of technology.
Okay, so now we talked about ads, we talked about affiliates, and we talked about technology. So what about duration, right? Because I know a lot of us that have either a podcast or YouTube or both, it's the duration. You want people to listen from the beginning to the end. Have you found that sweet spot with duration, or does it even matter? Do you find that there are more people viewing your particular video if it's at this number of minutes versus something else?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for me personally, what I was doing for the past honestly, like the past 2 years, like I really only started going all in on YouTube, like making content specific for YouTube in November. Like beginning of November, I was like, I'm gonna put out a YouTube video every single day for the month of November because I really want to get my YouTube channel off the ground. So those videos are very different than the ones I was doing before. So before that, I was pretty much just re-uploading my podcast episodes, similar to what you do,
Uh-huh.
to YouTube, because I was like, hey, people are searching for these guests and they want to see stuff by them. So I was just re-uploading my podcast to YouTube and not really thinking too much about it. Wasn't really optimizing anything. It was kind of just putting them there. And I was like, hey, if people want to find it, they can find it. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. So when I was doing that, my podcasts are anywhere from like 60 minutes to like, or half hour to like 60 minutes. So I was putting those up there. And what I found, because now in the last month, in the month of November, I was doing stuff that was like 10 to 15 to maybe 20 minutes long. And I think a lot of people get intimidated to click on a video that is like 20 or more minutes in duration, because they're like, I don't know if I have 20 minutes, like maybe I have 15 minutes. I don't know if I have 20 minutes, like there's a whole TV show. So I think once you cross that, once there's a 2 at the front, that just intimidates people. So for me personally, when I'm making content specific for YouTube, I don't want there to be a 2 in front. I want to keep it like, honestly, 18 minutes or lower is best. If I can keep it under 15, that's awesome, because at that point, you're not really intimidating people and they're not as scared. Because one thing that YouTube really likes is they like people to watch a long percentage of your video. And so if your video is an hour long, a long percentage of that is going to be a lot longer than if it's like a 15 or 10-minute video. So it's easier to retain people for a longer percentage if you have a shorter video. And it's also just easier to keep it engaging and snappy and whatever when it's not so long. So for me personally, I think if you're making content specific for YouTube, I think like 10 to 15 minutes is golden. But if you're putting podcasts up there, like I didn't really worry about it that much, because like some of the podcasts would still do really well, but it kind of depends.
It depends on what you're trying to do. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's talk about this month that that was like, okay, now I got to get them on now. So November 2020, right, is when you had this this change in how much you were making from YouTube, and you made a conscious effort. Talk to us about what you did differently, and you touched on it a little bit, and then how that changed the money. Like what do you think changed the money? Because just because you put more doesn't mean, okay, now people are going to click more, or does it? Like, I don't know. So tell us how you went from what you made prior to making this conscious effort, and then what that effort was, and then what did it change to, and then if it's even changed more since.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, prior to the month of November, I was really just, all I was doing on YouTube was like re-uploading my podcasts. And like a long time ago, when I first started my YouTube channel, when I was in college, my freshman year, that's when I first started my YouTube channel. And at that point, it was kind of just a creative outlet for me to like talk about personal finance, because none of my friends wanted to listen to me. So I had those videos, and then I shifted into just doing podcasts. And then November comes around and I'm like, you know what? I've got this YouTube channel. I've got like 7,000 subscribers. Let's take this seriously. Let's try to get this off the ground, turn this into an income stream. I'm 21 years old. I'm not like technically employed. So I want to be making some money here. Got to pay the bills somehow. So I figured YouTube was a decent way to do that. So I wanted to like test this out, get some proof of concept. And so I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to post a video every single day for the month of November. And maybe by the end of the month, I'll be able to see if there is some actual potential here to make money, or if it's just, if there's nothing here, if people don't want to see me. And so like prior to that, YouTube was cutting me a check every single month for about anywhere from $150 to $180 just from the podcast that I put out. They were still getting views over time. So they're sending me.
Let me pause you, Apple. So YouTube was cutting you a check, not affiliate. So this is you from the ad content.
Yeah, so I wasn't really doing any affiliates with the podcast stuff. Because like I said, I wasn't really optimizing those at all. I wasn't really doing anything. Like, I don't even know if they had a description on them. I was just kind of putting the video up, throwing a title on, like copy and pasting the title from the podcast, copy and pasting the description from the podcast, and just uploading it. So YouTube was cutting me that check for the ads on my videos, because I had hit the threshold that I mentioned before. I hit that like at FinCon 2018, I think is when that happened. So I turned the ads on, and then ever since then they'd be sending me a consistent like it was about $5 a day, I would say, was what I would average on YouTube. So like 150 a month. Okay. So November rolls around, and I'm like, I'm going to take this seriously. I post a video every single day. And then by the end of November, my daily income off of YouTube has gone from $5 a day to $40 a day. So that's an 8x jump there, which was pretty wild to see. I mean, I really wasn't expecting anything that crazy. So like throughout the whole month of November, I made a little over $400. So almost tripling what I had done the month before. And so if we can keep a consistent $40 a day throughout the month of December, I mean, that would be another very substantial jump from $400 to potentially over $1,000 in a month. So yeah, so we're on a pretty nice trajectory right now. And so what that really came from, because like you mentioned, like just putting out more videos doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more views, more clicks, more whatever. So I kind of, my strategy was to just start off by throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what stuck and then rolling with what stuck. So personally, I'm a huge credit card nerd. I'm really into credit cards. Dave Ramsey fans, I'm sorry. I can't get down with that. I just love my free travel too much. So I'm big into credit cards. So I started off by making some credit card videos, some investing videos, and just kind of saw what people were taking to. And the credit card videos seemed to be doing really well. So I was like, you know what, let's stick with this. And I made one specific video about a kind of a niche credit card, like not a huge credit card that a lot of people know about, but like kind of a smaller credit card. I made a video just all about this credit card, and that video started to take off. I mean, it got like, right now it's sitting at like 3,000 views over the span of like 3 weeks, which is good for a channel of my size. Like most of my videos are in the hundreds, not in the thousands. So I see this video blow up and I'm like, oh shoot, like this video is doing pretty well. So let's try this again. And so basically I make the same type of video. I pick a different kind of niche, smaller credit card, and I make a similar video about like this particular credit card, full breakdown. And then that video has done like, I think it's close to like 6,000 views in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, shoot, I might be onto something here. So
Credit cards, yeah.
yeah. So I've just been making videos about low competition credit cards, and those have done really well for me. And the reason for that is because I'm able to rank those videos in the search bar on YouTube, because you kind of have two main options on YouTube in terms of getting views. You can either get views from YouTube recommending your stuff, or you can get views from ranking in search. And for me, my problem with getting recommended by YouTube is that to get recommended by YouTube, you need to get a high click-through rate, okay? And click-through rate is basically of the people that YouTube shows your video to, like the thumbnail and the title, everyone who sees that, what percentage of them actually click on the video and watch and start watching it, okay? And so for me, I couldn't get a high click-through rate because I had 7,000 subscribers on my channel, but it was kind of dead, okay? My channel was kind of dead because those people didn't really care about what I had to say, because I hadn't been putting out videos consistently. I hadn't really been taking YouTube seriously. And so those people didn't really care about me. They weren't going to click on my videos. They had just subscribed to me and forgot about me. So they were dragging down my click-through rate. So I couldn't get my videos suggested by YouTube. So I had to instead go to the search bar. And so with the search bar, I was able to go after these, like I said, low competition credit cards, rank in search for those. So I'm showing up number one when people search for that. And then that's where a lot of my views are coming from. So that's my long-winded answer to your question.
No, I love it. So okay. So what I love is how you're showing the options and then saying the pros and cons of that. So now let's go to the one that has worked for you. So it's the search. What are people searching for you? Are they searching for credit card? Are they searching for the credit card you're talking about? How are you ranking high in that search? Like, what are you doing to get your video in this search?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. So I'm using this plugin. It's a free YouTube tool called Vid Iq. There's like a paid version too, but I don't really pay for much stuff. So I use the free version because I'm cheap and I'm 21 years old. So I've got this free thing, and basically what it does is anytime you do a search on YouTube, it'll give you two numbers. It'll give you a number of the competition on that search, like how competitive it is to try to rank there, how many other people are making videos there. And then it'll give you a number on how many people are actually searching for that thing. So my formula is like find things that a lot of people are searching for, but there's low competition on so that I can actually rank on it. So what I'll basically do is I'll go to the YouTube search bar, I'll type in like a credit card that I know of, and I'll see what the score pops out as. And if it's a pretty good score, then I'll be like, okay, maybe I'll make a video on that. And I'll keep doing that until I find some ones that have like really high volume of people searching for them, but really low competition in terms of people making videos on them. So I'm kind of just trying to find those little holes in the market where people aren't necessarily making a lot of videos on those cards. And then I make videos on those cards. And then like my goal with all those videos is to rank number one when people search for that particular credit card, because if they search for that particular credit card, another great thing about that is they care about that credit card. It's not just like being suggested to them by YouTube and they might not care about it, but they have the intent to actually care about that credit card, which means they're probably going to watch a longer duration of that video than if it was just like randomly suggested to them, because they're like actively seeking out, I want to learn about this credit card. I make like a 10-minute video about this credit card. There's a good chance they're going to watch a decent chunk of that video. And if they like it, they might subscribe. So that's kind of in my formula, is like find those high volume, low competition, make a really good video. And then in terms of like optimizing it for search, really the main things that I do is I try to make sure that I'm getting it well, definitely get the name of the thing that you're trying to rank for in the title of your video. That's like a must. But then also like the description is pretty important. I think I spend more time on my descriptions than most people do. I'll usually try to write at least a couple paragraphs about what I'm talking about, because YouTube likes that. They like to see that you're taking the time to do that. But those are kind of my strategies. Just like find those opportunities and then just go after them.
And I love this. I love this. A lot of nuggets that you're providing, which is really great. I just lost my thought. I was going to ask you another question. The plugins in oh, your channel, is it the Apple Crider channel? Like, or did you have? I thought I saw Young Simple. What is the name of your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So right now it's just called Apple Crider.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, I used to have it named when I was posting podcasts. I named it Apple Crider - Young Smart Money, because that's the name of my podcast. So I
Yes.
wanted it to rank if people were searching for that. But now it's just Apple Crider.
It's just Apple Crider. So the Apple Crider, not the Apple Crider show, Apple Crider channel, just
No,
Apple.
just Apple Crider, just my name.
Okay. All right. So tell me why switch from the brand you started with from a podcast? Because did you want to keep the two? This is my podcast lane and this is my YouTube lane. Is that why the different name? Okay.
Yeah, I kind of want to do that, and I think it just like looks better, honestly, because a lot of times like YouTube would kind of like cut it off partway through, so it'd be like Young Smart ... or like Young SM ... and I don't think that looks very clean. So I knew if I want to take YouTube seriously, just to like drop that off and just have my name would be fine, because like my podcast is getting traffic anyway, so it's not like people were finding my podcast on YouTube and then going and listening to it that much. So yeah, I figured just drop the podcast name and just keep it my name.
Yep. So if I say this right, if I'm following everything right, so you do about 10 minutes of a show, 10 to 15, under 20 minutes. So starting with the number 1, so 1 through 119, and you're making at a minimum right now $40 for that episode, right?
Yeah. Well. So 40.
Okay.
Yeah, $40 a day. Some of the videos will do more, some of them will do less, depending on how they do. So like honestly, right now, like some of my videos are doing like over $100 a month. And then some of them are not really doing, are doing like maybe $10 a month. So it really does vary a lot between video to video. But yeah, for the most part, averaging like $40 a day.
Yeah. So I'm trying to like do, say 10 minutes of your time, maybe a little prep before and after, and then times 30, 31 months. 10 minutes and what you're yielding from that. Like, that's amazing. And that's not even including the affiliate information in there. So that's awesome.
Well, I want to preface this by saying I do spend a decent amount of time like editing my videos too. Because I'm not just throwing them up. I really am, like at the beginning I kind of was, but now I've got an editor that I've been working with for a long time before I was doing YouTube with just my podcast. So he's now doing my YouTube editing. So I do some of my YouTube editing. He does some of my YouTube editing. There'll be like one video a week that I'll do that I really want to like have my personal touch on, and then he'll do the rest of them. But I've learned over the last month that for me to reach the people that I want to reach, which is young people, I've gotta keep my videos a lot more interesting, because like personal finances can be a bit dry. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true, especially when you're trying to reach like 18 to 24-year-olds. Like they need some memes, they need some comedy, they need some to like juice it up,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Get it, yeah.
Exactly. And so I've been spending a lot more time editing my videos, adding in like funny stuff here and there. And so that's been taking a bit of time. So I don't want to just say like 10 minutes, $40. There's definitely a lot more time that goes into it, but it is really cool to see how scalable these things are, because like the one video that I made that's like 6,000 views right now that I made like 2 weeks ago, like I spent like a certain amount of time on that, and it's continuing to get views and get dollars every single day, and I don't have to do anything extra. It just like lives out there now, and it ranks number 1 for its keyword, and it's just there. So it is a cool way to just like build up these assets that will just keep working for you. But I don't want to make it come off like it's like a get rich quick scheme or anything, because
no. I was just, because the whole reason why I wanted to talk about this, because I'm in the lane, and the people following me, it's about a lot of them work. They're not like full-time entrepreneurs, but are doing side hustles, and they're trying to figure out what can they do in addition to what they're already doing to earn some passive income. And that's what I'm trying to show is like it may not. So you have to do some research on the card or whatever you're putting out there, or whatever you're talking about. For me, mine is interview style, so I'm reading the bios, trying to understand the guests, and then it's the editing component. So you talk through all of that, but still, what the point that I was trying to make, with saying how much you're making and the fact that it's probably not taking you 8 to 10 hours
Sure, sure.
for that 10 minutes, that there is, this is another way that people can do it when they, I love how you, like you said, you threw stuff up to see what worked. And once you realized what was, then you sort of said, let me ride this wave. Let me get some more credit card ones out there. And that's really what I want them to walk away with. Like, you can do it too. And Apple has shared with you what he's done to get there. Now you're not going to get rich, and, at least, and when you start off, who knows what it'll take into. And, there's so many different topics. We both happen to be into personal finance, but there's so many people that can do, so many other things that can be visible on YouTube. So, I mean, the amount of time people spend on YouTube amazes me. Like, amazes me. I mean, the scrolling and the scrolling and the scrolling.
Yep.
So why not be somewhere where people are going already, and then making topics available to those that, or making the type of topics people are looking for relative within making that content relative to what they're looking for. I love it. I absolutely love it. When I read what you posted, I'm like, I gotta get him on the show. I've been meaning to get you on the show for some time since we first met back now, 2018. You just reminded me. I'm like, oh my gosh. So when I saw that, I'm glad you accepted right away. So, the last question I have is, how do you market? So you said when you appeared or did your talk at FinCon, that's probably when you hit the, your 7,000 or whatever number that you hit. Because you had got to 7,000, did you no longer need to market because you had that many people following you? Or did you need to, because like you said, they subscribed but never went back? Like, how do you get people, other than them searching for the card and finding you? Are you doing anything else to market your show?
Yes, that's a great question. At the moment, not really. I've got my podcast interviews that I've done in the past on my YouTube channel. I leave those up, and those actually bring in a fair number of subscribers. The only problem is those people aren't necessarily interested in credit cards. They're interested in the interview and entrepreneurship, but they're not necessarily interested in the credit cards. So that's kind of, I mean, there's pluses and minuses there. Like, it's good to have that vanity metric and like social proof of like more subscribers, but at the same time, if they're not clicking on my videos, then it makes it harder for YouTube to push my stuff out, because again, that click-through rate is going down. So for me, those are, I mean, really, it's coming from the videos that I'm ranking in search, and it's coming from those old videos. And I'm not really doing any kind of marketing or anything outside of that. I mean, I made that LinkedIn post that you mentioned. I'll sometimes post on like Instagram or Facebook, but for the most part, it's really just letting YouTube do the work.
Okay, great. So, if you had to share, you've talked about a lot, and like I said, you started with how you got started, the technology. You went into the subscription and the two models, ads and affiliates, and then how you were able to monetize and what that turned out to be for you. If somebody is from two prongs, so a tip for somebody that has not started a channel, that are considering it, what would you say to that person? And then the tip for somebody that is YouTubing today, have not been able to monetize, what should they walk away with after listening to you today?
Yeah. So, I mean, for the person who hasn't started yet, I would say I would recommend following what I did as best you can. So I know for a lot of people, posting a YouTube video every single day for a month seems like a pretty daunting thing. So I mean, you don't necessarily have to do that. I would say shoot for at least, like, if you do 3 videos a week for a month, that's 12 videos. That's some decent sample size for some data. So I would shoot for at least doing that, trying to get like 3 honestly, like 5 to 10 minute videos out over the span of a week times 4 weeks. If you could do that and just like try a bunch of different stuff and see what sticks, like, I would recommend doing that, because YouTube is going to, at least what I found, and what other people that do YouTube that I've talked to have found, is that YouTube's going to tend to pull you in a direction. Like, they're going to, like, if you put out like credit card videos, personal finance, investing, whatever, YouTube's going to kind of pull you in a direction that they want you to go in. And so if you kind of figure that out, lean into that, that's where you can start to really see some traction, like I've been able to see in credit cards recently. So I would say do that and just really push yourself to, like, for a month, just put out as much content as you can and try a bunch of different stuff and see what direction you get pulled in. So that's what I'd say if you haven't started yet. And I would say just use what you've got, use the equipment you've got, use your phone, use whatever. Doesn't have to be fancy. And then in terms of someone who is trying to monetize on the platform, I would say really figure out what your growth strategy is. Are you trying to focus on YouTube recommending your stuff? Or are you trying to focus on search? And if you're trying to focus on YouTube recommending your stuff, then you have to go after like the viral trends and like current events and things along those lines that are really have the potential to like blow up. Whereas if you're going for search, you're not necessarily looking to blow up. Like the credit card reviews that I'm making, I don't expect them to blow up. I just expect them to rank in search over time and continue to generate views month over month over month, without me having to do anything. So you got to think about which camp you're trying to fall in, and then really just focus on that camp. So if you try to do both, it's going to be tough. But if you can really just focus on one, you can have a lot more scalability potential. I've found, at least.
Yeah, I like that. I was gonna end with that, but another thought came in my head. You've talked about search, like where you ranked and the fact that click throughs are bringing you down. Analytics, where so do you have to does your channel automatically give you analytics, or is it once you get to that 1,000 subscriber mode, do you start to get those types of analytics?
Yes, you get the analytics from day one, but the thing that you won't get from day one is the ranking that you have in search. So like I mentioned, like with this one credit card, it's for like the Chime credit builder. If people want to search it up and just make sure that I'm actually still ranking #1 on that, just type Chime credit builder into YouTube and hopefully I shall show up #1. But the ranking system, how I track that is the same tool that I mentioned earlier that you can use for finding the competition and the volume on different like search terms. It's called Vid Iq. So if you have that installed, then when you look at each of your videos, it'll tell you what keywords you're ranking for. Like if you're #1 on something, if you're #2 on something. So that you need the Vid Iq plugin for. But everything else like click-through rates and things along those lines, that'll just be in the YouTube Studio, which is available to anyone who has a YouTube channel.
Okay, and then I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this because you've mentioned it a couple times. Vid Iq plugin. That may sound like Greek to some people. It may be normal to others. What is that like? What is a Vid Iq plugin? Where do they get that? How do they put that on their channel?
Yeah. So if you just search for VidIQ, it's like this free, it's kind of like it's a Google Chrome like app or plugin or whatever that shows up in like the top corner of Google Chrome, So it's one of those things. And really it just allows you to get more like details and statistics on YouTube. So like I mentioned, it's the thing that'll show you like the competition for different keywords and the search volume and things along those lines. So it's really just a tool to give you more like numbers to look at with YouTube, and it's totally free. I don't know. It's probably just like vidiq.com, or if you just Google like VIDIQ, then you should be able to find it. But yeah, it's just a free little thing that'll help you out with YouTube.
I love that. Okay, so Apple people they're gonna want to know where to find you. So why don't you drop again? So give them not just your YouTube page, or if that's what you want. Where can they find you? You've mentioned some interesting things that you're doing, so and what you have coming up. So share that here.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, yeah, the best place is just my YouTube, which is Apple Crider. Crider is spelled like cider with an R, so CRIDER. So you can find me there. Yeah, if you just Google Apple Crider, you'll probably find me on like LinkedIn, Instagram, my website, stuff like that. But yeah, YouTube's where I'm most active. Probably second is Instagram. But yeah, reach out, send me a message. I always love chatting with people, and so yeah, if you have any questions about anything, I would be happy to help.
Yeah, and he responds back very quickly. I don't know. No, I'm gonna say I'm special, and that's why I do that. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Money Exchange Podcast. I hope you enjoyed all the gems that Apple shared. If you're interested, the information he gave is good for those that are considering a YouTube channel and those that are newbies to the new YouTube world, and for those that have been around for a while and need some additional tips. He's given us a lot of information, so make sure you check this episode out. His information will be in the show notes, so make sure that you look for that. Apple, thank you so much for being on the Money Exchange and taking some time with us to tell us how you are monetizing the YouTube.
It's been a pleasure, Patrina.
Yes. Okay.